anytime if you have questions, you do not have to wait till the end of the class. Just raise your hand and we'll take the questions right then. And if it's okay, I'm just going to ask you guys some questions during the class as well. So like, this class is about organic. Well, we sort of have moved 2 classes together. There was organic gardening and garden design. So we've put those 2 classes together to give you guys the best of both worlds here.
Question.
Yes?
Already. So I was at Walmart. Can you record that? I was at that blue sign place, and I went to look at the organic soil. So I have some pictures that I would like to ask you which one of those would be the best. Because they all say organic,
Yes.
but they're not all created the same. Or
They're trying to sell. They're trying to sell their product, you know. So some label literacy is definitely good for us to know. So
I encourage
Andy's
those
really good
types
at
of
this.
questions.
Oh, yeah.
All of my classes from a consumer-oriented point of view, whereas cheap is good, free's better.
Yeah.
I love debunking marketing.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
that.
because it's
It's
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not paying $9.97. This one says $3.40. Right.
Well, maybe after class we can look at the pictures you took. And did you take pictures of labels and everything?
Yes. Well,
Excellent.
the front side, so you can always Google.
Yeah, we can figure it out. Yeah. So, I mean, with that in mind, why organic? Does anyone have any ideas about why they want to grow organically? I mean, why is it better? Anyone? Popcorn style? Yes.
I think it's healthy and it'll be good for the land.
Julie?
I'm a cancer survivor, so I don't like
Yeah.
exposing myself to the chemicals and having it in the soil or in the house. And we have a lot of water that runs through. It goes down to the river, so that's something I think about too.
Yeah.
Learning how to do things without like needing extra things like fertilizers and pesticides that you have to buy. So not having reliance on those things and just being able to have seeds and the natural elements and be able to grow things and make it work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's exactly what I wrote on the next slide. You know, when it comes to human health, you know, the most risk that you're going to have is when you're exposing yourselves, when a person is applying those type of chemicals. When we talk about synthetic chemicals in agriculture, where there's 2 major things. There's fertilizers, synthetic fertilizers. There's 3. There's herbicides, which kill plants, and there's pesticides, which kill insects. So the most risk from exposure to that is going to come when a worker is putting those chemicals down, but there's also risk when it comes to consuming the food. There's known carcinogens in these pesticides that the EPA has said there's little risk when you consume it, but there hasn't been very comprehensive long-term studies done on the effects of those pesticides being in our food. So, also the environment, as you said, is better for the land. You know, has anyone ever heard of the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico? You haven't? You've heard of it? You have, yeah. So there's actually a 1,000-mile wide zone in the Gulf of Mexico where nothing lives. There's no fish, there's no crustaceans, there's no dolphins, there's no manatees. And the reason why is because there's no oxygen in the water. The reason why there's no oxygen in the water is because the algae have overgrown that water. The reason the algae has overgrown it is because of all the fertilizers. When the fertilizers get applied to the land and in excess, too much of it gets into the water, it dissolves, and it runs down into the Mississippi River, ultimately leading to the Gulf of Mexico. So that's one example. And that doesn't just affect the Gulf, but almost every major waterway is affected by these algal blooms, which causes devastation to the ecosystem. So, you know, and then you have your pesticide impact on pollinators. There's, okay. There is currently an insect apocalypse happening where we have 40% of our entire population of insects gone, have decreased, and insect extinction is happening at an alarming rate. So, and this is due to pesticide overuse and habitat degradation and climate change as well. So by reducing those impacts, we the spraying of pesticides, we reduce the impact on our pollinators. And like Layla said, the cost, these inputs are really expensive, and they sell it to you like this is going to make it easier for you. This is going to reduce the cost of your crops being eaten by bugs, or it's going to make your plants grow bigger so that you have better yields and more harvests. But ultimately, the cost of those inputs, the cost of the fertilizers and the chemicals that you use, add up very much over time. And in some, there's also genetically modified organisms, which we're not going to get into, but those are not organic. And it's a very cost prohibitive for farmers to get into GMO work because the seeds cost so much. They're patented, they're proprietary, So you're not able to save the seeds for future replanting. So we're going to do a quick overview of plant fertility, soil fertility, and how the chemistry kind of works. I also wanted to say, one more thing about the health is that most produce loses 30% of its vitamins after 3 days after being harvested. So that's 30% of the vitamin C, the vitamin A that's in these vegetables is just it degrades over time. So even though a vegetable might look super fresh in the grocery store, it's been harvested since, a week or 2 weeks prior, right? So it doesn't have the same nutritional content as when you just pulled out of your garden that day. So when we grow organically in our homes, our food is going to have a higher nutritional content.
Can I add something right there?
Yes.
You've all eaten tomatoes that came from a grocery store, and you've all realized, wow, it tastes like the plastic wrapper.
Yes.
We've all done this, and there's actually a very good reason for that. If you were to grow a tomato at your own homes, you would say, I'm going to grow something that tastes good. That's going to be my first consideration, and maybe something that's a little disease resistant too. I'm good, right? I can do this now. Well, if you're commercially producing any type of crop, let's just take tomatoes, and there were 10 factors, the taste of that tomato isn't even in the first 5.
Yeah, their main thing is storage and...
It's like, how early can we pick it? In other words, they're picking a green tomato. How will it respond to gassing? How will the structure of that tomato stand to piling boxes on top of it? Now I got to ship it across country. And that's number 4. Now it's eventually going to be in the store. We're at number 6, 7 before taste ever comes up. And I presented Blount County, and there was a gentleman that worked there he worked ragu. He was a chemist for ragu his entire life. And he told me his job was to take in literally tomatoes that goats wouldn't eat, and by using chemistry make it taste so you would buy it as ragu.
That's wild.
Wow.
So that's the reality of your food system. That's what's happening. Not like Mama used to make. Mama would have thrown it out for the pigs, but they're using chemistry to make it taste edible enough for you to eat it. Yeah.
Right? The average bite of food travels 1,500 miles from where it's grown to where you eat
So
it.
that's why it tastes like the plastic wrapper. It's not far removed.
That's the sign.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Okay, so what do plants need? Here's the different factors. They need light, of course, carbon dioxide, which is what they breathe to produce, to do their photosynthesis. They need water. They need soil structure, meaning they need soil that they can dig their roots into and kind of push up against to grow. And they also need these nutrients, which we're going to get into. There's macronutrients and micronutrients. The main 3 are NPK. We'll get into that on the next slide. The micronutrients are they're basically like vitamins for the plants. These come from the soil itself. These come from rocks, which is what soil is ultimately made of. Soil is made of rocks and doo-doo, basically. And that times thousands of years makes soil. So these ultimately come from the parent material, the rock formations that are far underneath the soil and that have been weathered over millions of years. So NPK, who knows what NPK is? Anyone?
Nitrogen, potassium.
Phosphorus and potassium.
Phosphorus.
Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And that is what these 3 numbers mean on the fertilizers that you see in the stores. That's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And what that means when it says 20-20-20 on your Miracle Grow, it means it's, 20%. I drank that LaCroix. It's 20% nitrogen, 20% phosphorus, 20% potassium. Now, think nitrogen is, so those are the three main macronutrients for plants. They need the other things for special parts of their cells, but the NPK is their main bread and butter. When you think nitrogen, think up. It's green, it's what leaves are made of, it's what leaves and stems grow out of. Nitrogen is what chlorophyll is the main component of, so it produces that green pigment. So nitrogen up. Phosphorus is mostly a root promoting molecule, so it needs phosphorus to grow its roots out, and it also induces it to flower. So when you think phosphorus, think down. And when you think potassium, think all around, because potassium does flowers, it does fruits, but potassium is a big part of the plant's immune system and how it resists diseases and pests. So if it's potassium deficient, it's going to be a lot more susceptible to diseases. Just like this.
The potassium.
Yeah.
Like we have.
Right, yeah.
Is that why the banana peel thing works? Is because it's potassium, right?
Yeah, it also has a lot of nitrogen in it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you said the nitrogen is for,
Nitrogen is leaves.
Light.
Yeah.
and leaves.
If you think about
greenery.
nitrogen's for the vegetative state of the plant.
Vegetation,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, and your phosphorus is gonna be your blooming or your fruiting stage of it.
Okay, okay.
And a lot of times people will not realize that they need, they'll be just putting like a high nitrogen fertilizer. There's some fertilizers that are just straight nitrogen. It'll say like 80-00 on that packet. And they'll be putting the nitrogen in and then wondering why they never get fruit or flowers on their plants. Well, because you didn't have any phosphorus or potassium that's gonna help that plant grow those organs. Now, the thing that I wanna stress with you guys, the main difference between organic growing and synthetic or commercial growing, chemical growing, is that with chemical growing you feed the plant. With organic you feed the soil. So I'll explain that more. But basically the first thing I want to tell you is that this is the diagram of the plant roots, right? And this is the root wall, and then off the root has these tiny little things called root hairs, which increase the surface area of that root and allow it to come in contact with the soil solution, which is the water that runs the soil. The soil solution is what dissolves those nutrients, which are ions, meaning they are these small little molecules. Well, they're really ions, they're big molecules. I'll show you, this is a protein. So this is what has a very high nitrogen content. These, sorry for all the chemistry, y'all, but these little green dots are gonna be your nitrogen atoms, the red dots are carbon, and the blue ones are oxygens, right? So, and this is a very small protein. This is just one component of a protein. A bigger protein is going to be huge. It's going to be all of these chains linked together and folded up on each other. Yes.
So back to my bags of organic soil.
Yes.
Miracle Grow, which I'm always like, cringe. They have organic.
Yeah.
And hearing this, I'm just like, how do you have Miracle Grow that's organic?
They probably use something like feather meal or bone meal that's a byproduct from the factory farm. That's really high in nitrogen, but it's like a protein, you know. So.
Could you go back to that prior slide?
Yes.
Okay. If you look at this slide, okay,
Where?
right here at the bottom, this NH4 and NO3, and you see those numbers 20, 20, 20.
Yeah.
That's marketing,
Yeah.
okay? Let me, and this is,
Please, no,
okay, this is marketing.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is what I teach, so.
That's okay.
Okay, so if you look at these numbers, it makes perfect sense. They got 20%, 20%, 20%, so okay, I can do the math for that. The problem is, that's not what's actually in the package. It's on the front, but it's not. If you turn it around to the side and read the ingredients, and I wish I could take credit for this, but a very, very, very smart woman, Natalie,
Oh yeah.
told me this about 10 years ago, and she held up a package of fertilizer and a pretty nice picture on the front of it, and she said, if you're looking to buy something like this, don't look at the pretty picture on the front. Turn it around to the label, and if the label doesn't tell you what you need to know, that's where you should spend your money. Get an education on what this label is actually saying. What you're actually looking at here is nitrogen. That's that first 20, and it's these two over here. It's NH4 and NO3. These are opposites. I mean, these are it's like a magnet. Remember when we were kids, we played with magnets and they'd stick, or you'd put them aside and they'd push each other away?
This has a positive charge.
This is a positive, and that's a negative charge there. So that's going to be in all of your fertilizers you look at out there. But when you come to your next number, what's supposed to be phosphorus, when you turn it to the label, it says P2O5, not phosphorus. It's this P2O5 stuff. Well, that's not phosphorus. That's not elemental phosphorus. That's something you put in there that has phosphorus in it, but a whole lot of filler also. So what you're actually getting, if this was like, let's say this was just so we can do the math is easy. If this was 10, 10, 10, you'd have 10% nitrogen, just like the label says. You'd have 4.3%. So if this was 10 pounds of nitrogen, 4.3 pounds of phosphorus, even though that number says 10. Guess what? We move on to that last one, 10. This is going to be your potassium, but when you turn it to the label, it doesn't say potassium. It says P2O. Well,
Gotcha.
oh, wow. So now all of a sudden this is 8.3 as opposed to 10. So you're paying for it, you're not getting it.
Exactly.
And what ends up happening, how many people have had fertilizer burn? You know, okay. How many people have had blossom, you growing tomatoes or peppers and you had blossom end rot? Okay. And they sell this neat product called calcium nitrate. It'll eliminate your blossom end. It's a lie. Here's what happens. When the plants are taking this stuff up, nitrogen, all plants need nitrogen, but you have these two different forms. The problem is this ammonium, this NH4, plants like our tomato plants and our pepper plants, it grabs that like a fat kid loves cake.
Okay.
It'll take up ammonium between 10 to 100 times faster than it'll take up the other nitrogen, our nitrate over here. Okay? So while it's gobbling all that up, none of this nitrate can get in. Remember, this was positively charged, like she said. Calcium, what causes our blossom end rot, they always give you two answers. They give you inconsistent watering and lack of calcium in your soil. So if you're a good organic gardener, and you've been composting for 10 years and you've been putting eggshells out there and you know you're watering right, why are you getting blossom end rot? It's because of, remember those magnets? This is a positively charged ion. Calcium is a double positive. It's pushing the calcium away while it's taking up that nitrogen with both fists. So no matter what you do, if there's ammonium present in your soil, you're going to be getting that blossom end rot. So these numbers are marketing, and this is where your blossom end rot's coming from, right? And you can put all the calcium nitrate you want on it. It's not going to take it up until this is gone. Okay? So
That makes sense.
And that's why you need a healthy amount of soil microbes, because when we get, I wanted to show you guys this diagram. This is what the natural nitrogen cycle. So in here you have the three forms of soil nitrogen: ammonium, nitrites, and nitrates, right? So there's a whole bunch of bacteria called nitrifying bacteria, and they convert the ammonium, NH4, into nitrite, NO2. So the more of those, the more robust soil life you have, the more of the different types of bacteria you're gonna have to get that nitrogen cycling. Yes?
Can you buy the bacteria?
No, you kind of just have to,
you don't need it.
you don't need to
It's
buy
there.
it. It's there, you just need to create the conditions that's going to proliferate it.
So is that more poo?
Just
Yeah.
kitchen waste. I mean, your green peels, your apple
We'll have-
cores, anything like that.
Organic
We'll have a
matter.
composting
Yeah.
conversation at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole class that could be taught on composting. Well, we're touching on it a little, but just more organic matter is going to give those microbes of all shapes. I have a diagram later on the soil food web. There's all different types of microbes, as well as insects and fungi and little tiny animals that are microscopic, like nematodes and tardigrades and protozoas, and all those together make the soil community. And you need everybody in there doing their part so that these nutrients cycle around and don't get stuck in one form. Yeah.
Cool.
And so this is just an example of, this is an organic fertilizer. This is a commercial fertilizer. So you see how differently sized these molecules are, and how the commercial fertilizer is like, it also, what do you notice? So if the blue is oxygen, the red is carbon, and the green is nitrogen, do you see any carbons in there?
Nope.
No. But guess what the bacteria eat the most? Carbon. They need to eat carbon. That's their main food source. That's what they make sugar out of, so that they can have something to eat. If they do not have carbon, they'll eat the soil itself. They'll eat the carbon that's already in the soil. Meaning, as time goes on, if you're not adding carbon into your soil in the form of mulch, fertilizer, in the form of anything, compost, manure, mulch, whatever, you're just adding, like, this is just plant, like, these are like plant vitamins. This is not plant food, your soil is going to starve and it's going to eat itself, and that's how we have soil depletion. That's how we have soil degradation. That's why so many of we're losing so much of our topsoil all across this country and across the world, because everyone has been sort of manipulated to use factory fertilizers rather than organic fertilizers. And here is a slide about so that's the natural nitrogen cycle. Well, this is the nitrogen cycle with the fossil fuels added in, and what's happening with that. Here's an example of another fossil fuel, another fertilizer that's produced in the factory. This one does have a little carbon in it. This is called urea. And this is the first factory that produced ammonium in the early 1900s, bit of history. These German chemists created a process for taking nitrogen out of the air, because we know we have nitrogen gas all in our air, N2 of course. But N2, it's two nitrogen atoms together with a triple bond. It's very difficult to break those two nitrogens apart in order to turn them into ammonium, into nitrite. Very difficult to break that apart. So in order to do it, you need energy. You need a lot of fossil fuel to burn to create heat and pressure. And that's what they figured out how to do in the early 1900s, and that's how they figured out how to make big bombs. That, ammonium is a huge component of bombs and war technology. Which of course then you had World War I and World War II where we saw that happening. And in fact, the way they even figured out that that you could use this process as a fertilizer is because after World War I and World War II, they realized that a lot of the places where the bombs had dropped were growing greenery. And they were like, oh, it's because of the nitrogen that was in those bombs that didn't get fully burned off. So after the war, these people were trying to figure out how to still use the infrastructure and the industry that they had created for war and repurpose it for times of peace. And so they started producing ammonium for fertilizer. And that's when we had in the 1960s what they called the Green Revolution, which is where we started using all of these chemical fertilizers and chemical products in our agriculture. So, in fact, there was a whole, before this happened, there was a whole war that happened over bat guano. Bat guano was a huge source of nitrogen, and it was used to make saltpeter for gunpowder. And so there was a whole war that was fought between Peru and the Spanish in like when was it? I had it written. In like 1864, they were fighting over these islands off the coast of Peru that had massive bat guano deposits. So this stuff is very valuable, and it's been very valuable to governments and societies and all kinds of regular people as well.
Corporations.
During the Great Depression,
Corporations.
we've heard of the Great Dust Bowl.
Dust Bowl.
We
Yep.
created that.
We created that by
We did that.
overplowing. By overplowing.
Overplowing. We used to we did that ourselves.
Wow.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So this is our soil food web. This is a diagram of all the different critters that live in our soil community. You know, there's not just bacteria, but there's all these little guys, and they're all, some of them eat each other, some of them help each other. Some of them eat the byproducts that the other one releases. A lot of them just mostly eat the products of plants, you know, so the roots of plants that die off every winter, they'll just chomp on the dead tissue that is left behind. Or, you know, the animal doo-doo that's released after they've eaten. So it's all recycling among activity that they can get up to. And by their action moving around in here, they churn the soil up, they mix it up, right? So for example, with worms, like there's two types of worms. There's worms that only eat soil. So they're just down there in the soil, digging their little holes, and they don't really ever come to the top because they just eat the soil itself. There's other worms like the night crawlers. They eat organic matter. So they're going up to the top to eat the mulch and the dead leaves up there. They go up there, they chomp on the leaves, and they take it back down. So by doing that, they are bringing organic matter down below. They're fertilizing the soil. And by digging their little holes, they're also creating a channel for water to get in. And when the water gets into the soil, it increases the health of the soil too. The more soils need a lot of oxygen as well. In fact, the ideal soil is about 50% soil and organic matter and 50% pore space. And the pore space is either air or water, depending on how dry it is, right? But a lot of plants, they need oxygen in their roots, or else they will not be able to grow. If they're oxygen deprived, then they'll become sickly and die. So you need these guys to be in there, doing their thing, living their lives, in order for your soil to have good structure and good aeration and good water flow. Yes, ma'am.
I love questions.
Yeah, hey.
Do I need to buy some night crawlers?
Nah, because if you build it, they will come.
They will.
All you need to do is make sure your soil has organic matter. So get that mulch, get that compost on there, and if you do that, they will come. They'll be happy. They'll lay eggs, and they'll just
Take over.
Do it
grow
for
and
you.
grow.
Yeah,
They'll do it
really.
for you. Coffee grounds is a good one. Yeah.
Coffee grounds. You can get coffee grounds in there. Go to a Starbucks. Every one of them has a policy, whether they want to admit it or not. They have that grounds for gardeners
Right.
program. You get yourself a big bag of coffee grounds and spread it out throughout your garden.
Yeah, I found that.
Fresh coffee grinds or used?
Used.
Used.
Used just fine. And there's no acidity problem with it. It all comes out in the brewing. But if you want good earthworms, there you go. And if you want to get your compost hot, coffee grounds.
Very high nitrogen.
Very high, in dead of winter, you can get it 140 degrees in your compost pile when it's 27 degrees outside. Nice coffee grounds.
Eggshells are good to make sure you have that calcium in your soil. Like Andy said, a lot of the problems with calcium deficiency are not due to lack of calcium. However, it's good to make sure you don't have a lack of calcium. So add those eggshells, and the more the merrier. It's not going to hurt anything.
Eggshells and coffee.
You can just crush it up, crush them up, get them in there. The more surface area, the better, and just spread those coffee grounds out, and there you go.
So it's sounding like
Eggshell
y'all are interested in a composting class. Am
Yeah.
I picking up that?
Next
Okay.
question, are bananas, do you soak them, you know how you don't soak them?
Put them in the compost
You
pile.
can
Cut
if
them,
you'd
cut them
like
up,
to.
put them in the compost
Try my
pile.
compost tea.
No, I just, to water your plants every now and then.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
compost tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
I actually make
Fertilizer.
compost tea.
A banana water is a good way to supplement if you're using the water on your plants. That can be a good way to get those nutrients right to your plant because like it's sort of like a lower scale of compost tea. Compost tea is where it's a process. There's lots of different styles of making compost tea. Meek knows all about this.
No, I'm not the expert.
But and Andy knows all about this too. But basically, compost tea is just mixing compost together, and the main thing with compost tea is you aerate it. So you have one of those little air bubblers. Well, an air bubbler is not the best thing, but we could get into that later.
Yeah.
There's ways to aerate it by bubbling through in order to get oxygen into that water. And there's two main types of bacteria, right? There's aerobic, meaning they need oxygen, and there's anaerobic, they do not need oxygen.
Those are bad guys.
Anaerobic are the ones that stink. They smell bad. They smell like sulfur, putrid, right? So anytime something is smelling, if your compost smells real bad, you're not getting enough oxygen. You're getting those anaerobic bacteria growing instead of the aerobic ones. If you build it, they will come. If you change the conditions of your environment, the organisms that you want will come.
I have a quick question. Sorry to keep getting us off track, but the difference between the anaerobic and aerobic bacteria is the only reason that the anaerobic ones are bad are just because of the smell that they create, or is it bad for your soil as well to have too much, or do you want a little bit of both?
No, the disease-carrying ones tend to be anaerobic as well.
Okay.
So it's always good to not have them around.
Okay.
So if it stinks, don't use it.
Well, you know, you
Sulfur
it's not
is
100%, but you know, your disease-carrying ones that might be present are going to be in the anaerobic range, so it's better to avoid it if you can.
Okay.
I mean, those are the disease ones are the ones that live inside of us, right? There's no oxygen there, so they're not gonna do. If you take like E. coli and you expose it to oxygen, it's not gonna do as well.
You just don't want it in your compost.
Well, I mean, this is like, we are made to, if you smell something, it doesn't
Yeah.
smell right, you know not to eat it. So.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason we evolved that way, right?
Yeah.
I sniff it, don't smell right. I ain't enough.
Some things are an acquired taste, right? Well, okay, let's see what we have next. Oh yeah, so here's some natural sources of soil fertility that we can obtain organically. We have compost, we have mulch. Mulch is usually really high in carbon, so it might take a little while to break down, especially your bark, your like wood chips. Has anyone ever gotten wood chip mulch before? Yeah. Well, wood chip mulch, there's nothing wrong with that, and you can even go onto chipdrop.com and sign up for a chip drop for arborists to come and drop it off, because it costs the arborist to get rid of it.
Dispose of it.
Yeah.
Chip.
And chipdrop.com, you can
By
get
the
free
way,
wood chips. Yeah.
When we build everybody's beds in the home gardens, we layer it first with wood chips. So everybody who's getting a bed this year, that will be part of the programming. Is the first layer will be wood chips to hopefully add in some of that
And
good
you
kind
can
of.
say chips, woodchips.com.
Chip drop.
You can, yeah, if you need a lot of wood chips, you can get that. It's just that keep in mind that when it's wood, it takes a long time for that to decompose. So you might not see the results for a year or two at least, because in the meantime, those bacteria are going to be chewing that up, and it's not going to be, the nutrients that are in that wood are not yet released. You know?
It's however better than clay mud.
Yeah, that's true.
When things break down your compost pile, if this was like a wood chip or something, you have these big flat sides. It doesn't occur on these sides. It occurs on the edges. So the more surface area, the more finely you can get it chopped up, the more edge you can give it, the faster it will actually break
Yeah, those
down.
bacteria will have an in. They'll have a little nook to nestle into. Yeah.
My question is manure. Where do you get it from, and why should you have it? It's good.
Well, manure is really high, right? It's really high in nitrogen. Okay, pause. This one is the highest in nitrogen than all of the other fertilizers that's here. The problem is that it does smell. That's why if you're gonna get manure from, usually this is traditionally obtained. You can buy it. It's sort of like Black Cow is a good product. It's just comes in those bags. It's like $5 per bag, I think. You know, if someone is really interested in manure, they could go on Craigslist and look for horse farms. They're often trying to get rid of it out of their stables and stuff.
When I used to live in Scott County for 10 years, and it was strictly manure that I was using for compost there. Now the thing about when you get it, if you can find someone that owns horses or keeps horses anywhere, the nice thing about getting manure is it's always coming from the stables. And the stables always have a wood bed. So guess what you're getting? You're getting the carbon and your nitrogen in one place now, mixed, so your browns and your greens are already mixed there together for you. Urine's going to be just more nitrogen for you.
And that wood is like a sponge, kind of keeps everything together.
Normally they pile it up somewhere. Well, come back 6 months later, you have perfect compost now.
That's why you want your manure to be aged 6
Right.
months at least to a year. Obviously, nobody wants to be hauling fresh manure around. Like, not only is it smelly, but it could have pathogens in it, you know. But if you age it, like I mentioned, it has that exposure to oxygen. And also, when Andy mentioned that his compost got to 140 degrees, the reason why compost piles get hot is because of the activity of aerobic bacteria. Those bacteria produce heat when they have their digestion, right? So they're digesting the food that they're eating as well as breathing oxygen. And then that produces heat. Just like we're warm-blooded, the bacteria are kind of warm-blooded in that way. Like they produce heat through digesting their food. So when you have a compost pile with aerobic bacteria, it has enough oxygen in there, that compost pile is going to get hot. And when it gets hot, it kills bad bacteria. It kills pathogens in it. So the best way to ensure that your compost is safe to use is by putting it in a pile and making sure it gets up to a certain temperature. They recommend 140, you know,
Stays
just
there
to be
for a while.
super, super safe. But another way to ensure that your compost is safe is to age it longer, you know. So if you age it for a year rather than 6 months, you're going to have much less risk.
Can you tell everyone what you mean by brown and green material? I know you
Yes.
said that earlier. I just want to
Okay,
make sure everyone knows.
When you're looking for your compost, you know, there's brown and green. So you have your carbon and you have your nitrogen. And the colors kind of work out because a lot of greens are green and your carbons are like your coffee grounds or like your
The
leaves that have fallen,
wood
they're going to be
chips.
brown. You want to get them mixed up together. Now, a nice way of doing this is if you cut your own lawn, we all get these Amazon boxes filled with all this paper that goes in the landfills. Guess what? Throw it out on your lawn, run it over with the lawnmower with a bag on it. You just cut up your browns and now you've mixed them with your greens. Put them in your composter and you're off to the races already. And it's not going into a landfill. You're taking what would normally go into a landfill and now using it for your own garden and creating a perfect situation for yourself.
Or in the trash. So
Or
you're
in the
reducing your trash.
You're reducing trash and unfortunately that all ends up in landfills and
Yeah, I mean, carbon is a huge problem in our landfills because when you put organic material in landfill, it's being digested by those anaerobic bacteria, right? Because there's no oxygen in that landfill. This is a side note, a random side note, but
It's all connected.
But you know, one of the byproducts of anaerobic bacteria is they produce methane gas. That's another reason why they smell. You know, methane gas is like the smell of a cow fart, you know? And methane gas is 20 times more of a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So when you're putting your yard waste and your paper and your food into the trash, it goes to the landfill and it digests anaerobically. Meaning it's not composting, it's doing like a putrefaction process.
Isn't that more flammable too? Methane?
Yeah, it is more flammable.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but normally composting, you think about it, especially like here in Tennessee, we look at it's kind of seasonal because during the spring and summer we got all this green, we got to mow these lawns and then all of a sudden, you know, fall and winter comes around, there's no more lawn to mow, but now we got all these leaves falling, so we get all the green at one time of the year, we get all the brown at the other time of the year. We need to have them mixed all the time. That's why cut your lawn, throw that brown paper down there, cut it up and put it right in your compost and you're off to the races already.
And the brown paper doesn't make our gardens less organic?
No, no,
Okay.
no.
You know, paper not so much. It's mostly just pulp. You know, I have heard
Shiny.
some things about cardboard. Yeah, if
yeah.
you're ever
The
using
white
cardboard
shiny.
for mulch, don't ever use the glossy cardboard because those inks might contain heavy metals in there, like lead or arsenic. Probably not lead, but cadmium. You know, and other real heavy metals that you don't really want to be touching your food. I've also heard some things about cardboard. Has anyone ever used cardboard as a mulch or like a? Yeah.
Used
I
it
mean-
as a layer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a layer, yeah. And you know, I do it a lot too. I still do it because it's cheap and it's, you know, well, it's free. It's not cheap. It's completely
recycling.
free. Yeah, it's recycling. But you know, there is some evidence that there's lots of glues that they use in that cardboard, and that might not be the best thing. But when let's do more research on that because I'm not really sure what glues they use or what they break down into when they get in touch with those soil microbes. So
Cardboard's
think
not
about.
cardboard. I mean,
No,
cardboard
I used to
produced
work with
in this country is not going to be the same cardboard produced in China.
You know, I used
Okay,
to work in
so-
a factory that did that. So the glue, the stuff that's in that glue
Oh.
is disgusting.
Mhm.
And that's why you never lick an envelope.
I want to talk more about that.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll
what
do
kind of
that.
glue was it?
That's a
Yeah,
whole
but
list.
It is
I
really.
was making like stencils in in the crafting class for the kids, and I could actually cut apart, so you see where you have these little things in the middle that looks like zigzag corrugated thing, and then they glue
They
the
glue
other
those
things
in?
on top.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's plentiful, right? We might as well use it. It's just something to think about. So maybe we can do more research on that and figure out like what those glue, are they harmful? I don't know. But paper itself probably doesn't have those glues in it. I don't think. So, let's see. Also, one lesser known source of soil fertility is cover cropping. Has anyone ever heard cover cropping? Celia? Tom? So basically what this, and Layla, what a cover crop is, I'm sorry I don't have a picture, but basically this is a crop that you put in between your actual thing that you're growing, your harvest crop. So it depends on the season. There's ones that you put in the winter, while like after you harvest your tomatoes, and then you can put a cover crop down. Basically what it is, it's a green layer that holds the soil while you're not growing anything in it. You can also, like, you don't have to be, you can do it for the whole year. Like some people they let their fields take a break, right? They'll do corn one year, soy another year, wheat the next year, and then they'll let it go for 2 years, and they'll put a cover crop in order for the soil to replenish itself. And then after that, what they'll do is they'll till it in, so you're taking all that green that's grown over those years and you're putting it back into the ground. That's one way to do it. Other times you just sort of cut it down and let it rest on the ground as a mulch. And you can rotate it, like there's winter ones, like white clover is one you can put, winter rye or winter wheat you can put, and you basically put that down in the fall, and then it'll grow up in the spring. And then when it's time to plant your crop in April or May, then you till in your cover crop or you chop it down. And other ones you do in the summer, so say you were growing kale in one, or collards, or cauliflower, some kind of cool season thing, like a greens, and then it gets too hot, right? But you already planted your tomatoes in another place, so you don't really need that bed. So what you could do is you could put a summer cover crop to hold it until it's time to plant your greens again in the fall. So that buckwheat is a good summer cover crop. It can take that heat, and it also is a pollinator plant that can help the bees produce honey. Buckwheat honey is a thing.
Buckwheat's awesome.
Buckwheat is awesome, and it grows very fast. Andy knows all about buckwheat.
It grows very, very fast. Buckwheat does a few things. It's magic, man.
Tell us more.
Buckwheat is the only crop that we know of that will actually mine phosphorus from our own soil.
Yeah, it brings
Nothing else
phosphorus
does.
up.
Buckwheat.
Yeah.
It also, the roots put out what's called an allelopathic chemical. Basically, it's very greedy. It doesn't let anything else grow around it but buckwheat.
Oh.
So weeds aren't able to get in because of this chemical that its roots are secreting. So you won't have to weed as much. And its lifespan is 30 days. From the time you put it in, you'll have a flower 30 days later, and you can cut it down with the weed eater. And guess what?
Come
I
back.
was
You
about
can
to say,
just
you
cut
can
it down with the weed
harvest
eater
it,
and let it
can't
lay right on top of the soil and sow it in. That's all the work it takes.
Can you eat buckwheat?
You can
Yes,
eat
you
the
can also
seeds.
you can also
Yeah.
brown the seeds in the flour. You can.
They make pillows.
But it will self-reseed. If you don't want to mess with it, 30 days later it will reseed itself, and you're just back in until you decide you want to end it.
Question.
Yes.
Are these cover crops listed? Are those just like in general good to use for any gardener, or is it specific to like your region?
No, these will work all across the North America. Yeah.
Okay.
And vetch is beautiful.
Yeah, some of them
Vetch
have
is
really
a
nice
beautiful purple
flowers.
flower. A buckwheat's a beautiful white flower. So you're not only getting a cover crop, you're getting a butterfly garden as well.
So you said vetch.
Yeah, vetch. It grows like a weed. It's a beautiful purple flower and just spreads and they're all very inexpensive. I mean, very, very inexpensive.
A lot of our cover crops are legumes, like they're in
Yeah.
the bean family, right? And the amazing thing about legumes is they're nitrogen fixing. Has anyone heard the term nitrogen fixing crop? Celia has, you guys have. Does anyone know what that means? Well, I'll share with you. Basically, Layla.
No, you'll say it way better than me. Go ahead.
Nitrogen fixing. There is an amazing bacteria. It's called Rhizobacter. And I mentioned earlier how the nitrogen gas in the atmosphere, N2, it has that triple bond between the two nitrogens. And it's very hard to break that triple bond. That's why they use so much fossil fuels in the factories to make the fertilizers. Well, this bacteria, Rhizobacter, it has an enzyme that it's like a miracle, and it can actually take that nitrogen gas and break the bond very easily with its enzyme. And it produces nitrate for the plant. So anything that's a legume, so you have clover, alfalfa, vetch, beans, soybeans, there's even leguminous trees like black locust, acacia. These legumes have a symbiotic relationship with that bacteria. The bacteria lives inside their roots, inside these root nodules that the plant grows for them. And the bacteria eats the sugar that the plant is producing through photosynthesis, and in return, that bacteria creates nitrogen for that plant to grow with. So any type of leguminous crop is going to add nitrogen into your soil year by year. And it's even more, and as a result, the plant tissue, the leaves and the flowers and the seeds of it, that's why beans are so high in protein, because they're high in nitrogen. Nitrogen is a huge component of protein. Just the whole plant, the roots, the plant, the seeds, it's all going to be very high in nitrogen. So if you were to grow like clover and then till it in with your little rototiller or something, that's adding nitrogen into your soil. It's basically green manure, they call it, because it's so high in nitrogen. So
Don't till your soil.
tilling disturbs that soil structure. And you know, tilling is a
lowers
good
fertility.
thing. Tilling is a good thing to do when you're just starting out the garden the first year to get your garden established. But if you set up your garden well, you don't really need to be tilling every year. It's kind of redundant. But when you're first getting established, maybe the first year, even the second year, if your soil quality is poor and you're trying to add amendments to it, then tilling is decent. But you might consider getting your soil to a healthier place with more organic matter by adding these natural sources of fertility. And if it has a lot of organic matter, you're going to have those insects tilling it for you. You know, you have those worms mixing up the soil. You don't need to till.
Can't you also like just micro till in a way, like where you just kind of stick a pitchfork and
It's
just kind of
called
wiggle it
popping soil.
around?
Just stick
Yeah.
it in, pop it,
Yeah.
move it, and pop it.
Yeah,
That's the way you
a
should-
soil fork. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course with organic, a lot of people don't know what to do with pests, right? So these are some of our very common garden pests. Has you guys ever seen these out in the garden? Yep. I've had a whole harvest loss to the squash bugs
Them
and
little white flies.
What
yeah.
are the little gray
Notorious.
bugs? There were a bunch of them on the underside of my last bunch of
Mealy
greens that I
bugs?
had. Oh, is that what it was? I was like, I can't eat these.
What
I
are
was
they
mad.
They were probably aphids.
They
Yeah,
were
that's
gray
gross.
though. They were little gray, look like eggs is what it looked like on
That's
the
what it
bottom.
looks
Yeah, it
like
might
the
have been
aphids.
eggs. There's a
But they
couple
pick
different
up.
types of aphids too. There's green
See
ones,
that?
there's yellow ones, there's red ones.
They were gray, and I was mad
Yeah.
because I had already cut them, and I was like, let me take these in and wash them out. They were on.
Man,
I had
that's a bummer.
An entire amazing crop of butternut squash absolutely destroyed by squash bugs. Like,
Oh, wow.
it was the saddest thing I've ever experienced in my life. But it's just part of it, right?
So the squash bug that we're looking at is not that orange thing, it's the gray thing on it.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the orange thing is the squash. It's all over like a
Oh,
yellow
right.
summer squash under there, and they have just taken over. That plant is gonna die if there's not a serious intervention. So when it comes to dealing with pests, sometimes you do need to intervene if you want to save your harvest. You know, one year I had these Japanese beetles. There's another beetle called harlequin beetle, which was all over my collard crop, and I spent probably a cumulative like 80 hours that year. Maybe not that many, but I was picking out those things by hand. Yes.
So what are boll weevils?
Boll weevils?
They're
I
good
know
or
them.
bad? They're
I know that they eat. Boll weevils are a problem in like grain production, I believe. They get into silos and eat like corn that farmers are storing, I believe.
but they don't mess with the plants.
I don't think that they
I think it's
actually
more
kill
like
the
a
plant, but we can look
Pantry
that up.
pest, so it's like I've had to Or what makes that
Yeah, it'll go after your dry beans and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
You said boll weevils.
Boll weevils.
Tiffany can look it up.
Are you looking that?
Tiffany's been fact checking.
Yeah, please fact check that.
Is
Rebecca
it
Miller.
boll or boll?
BOLL.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think those necessarily kill your plant, but some of these other guys are gonna, if you don't, you know, yeah. If there's a real big problem, you could use like a gentle organic thing to intervene, such as neem oil is a good one, insecticidal soap is a good one. But those are things that we mostly would use as a last resort in order to save our harvest. The ideal thing with organic gardening is to prevent those bugs before they even get established. And the way you do that, yes.
I've got a question. Will spearmint and those other things like that rid you of that? Those
Spearmint
particular things?
oil might be a good thing to add to a mixture, but it's pretty strong.
I mean,
You might
growing
need-
fresh.
Oh,
yeah, growing it
yes.
around.
Yeah.
Yes, in fact,
You would put onions or something and spearmint and.
yes, and we'll talk more about the insectary planting. Is where you grow those herbs in combination with your crop in order to attract the beneficial. So that's what this is about.
Yeah.
These are all beneficial, and there's much more that's not pictured here. But these guys are all predators of our pests, right? So when it comes to those squash bugs, these predatory ground beetles they attack and kill the squash bugs. These type of wasps attack and kill
Hornworms.
tomato hornworms, yeah, which are those big worms that attack your tomato plants. A lot of these guys kill aphids and thrips. These guys, dragonflies, kill mosquitoes like you wouldn't believe.
So don't kill that.
And ladybugs, this is like the juvenile, the caterpillar of the ladybug. Has anyone ever seen one? They're so cool. Yeah, you've seen one. And then that's of course the adult ladybug. And these guys go after aphids. They're famous for killing aphids.
Those little bitty things.
And in fact, the juvenile ladybug is much more efficient at killing aphids than the adult, although the adult does too. Yeah.
Okay, so can you buy any of these? I'm just.
I was going to address that because you see ladybugs in the stores a lot. Honestly, again, if you build it, they will come. If you there's no point in wasting your money on ladybugs if you don't have a home for them.
The problem with buying a solution like that is if you don't already have the habitat for it, it's just going to leave.
Exactly.
So you spent your money and then they just poof.
Okay.
Whereas if you already have a habitat that's comfortable for them, they're going to come to you.
So that's why
wildflowers all around my garden or my whatever.
Yeah.
Pollinator flowers.
Exactly. We were just going to say like what we want to hope to offer you all with community partnerships through Native Plant Rescue Squad are like free native wildflowers and pollinators that you can plant around your gardens to hopefully attract a lot of these specific types of beneficial insects.
I wanted to ask you about the straw as well,
Okay.
and that's of course a praying mantis. They're a predator that eats all kinds of different bugs. So, but if you use harsh pesticides, that's a problem with commercial pesticides, right? When these people have the pests, they bring out the 7 dust. They bring out
It's an indiscriminate killer.
it kills all of these
Kill
guys.
everything
So
that's
the
there.
more you use those pesticides, the more you need to use them. Because then suddenly you don't have any of these guys who are going to keep those populations in check. And so, and then there's also techniques that Andy has had great success with, where he puts
And this
the
was
layer of
found
straw
quite
mulch.
by accident. I was actually taking an organic gardener class given by a doctor whose wife was also a doctor, but she was a spider doctor. She was an arachnologist. Can you imagine those conversations around the dinner table? But she was conducting an experiment that had nothing to do with what they found out, and she had put 4 inches of straw, not hay, straw, because you don't want the seeds, on top of the garden bed. And when the experiment was over and they counted things, there was really a miraculous 85% drop in bad insects in that bed. And what was the reason for that? Well, that 4 inches of straw proved to be a perfect habitat for ambush spiders. Not the ones that create the webs, that are ones who are just waiting for something to go by and just grab them.
Grab it.
And 85% reduction in harmful insects with just 4 inches of straw on the bed. And what else is that straw giving you? It's shading the surface of that bed, so now sunlight's not hitting it. you're gonna have better water retention, and you created that habitat, and it's not, and also seeds aren't gonna be able to germinate from weeds. So 4 inches of straw, and you've got all these benefits, and it's gonna add carbon back to the bed. So it's a win-win-win, and you don't have to use a lot of insecticide. Since I started doing this, I don't even have to use organic insecticides anymore. Between this and a butterfly garden, nothing.
Do you have to wait until your vegetables come up?
No, just once you've got stuff planted and you've made, you know where it's gonna come up, you can just put 4 inches around it.
Oh, okay.
And because while those veggies are coming up, the weeds are gonna come up too, and that's what you wanna block out, because you don't wanna be out there weeding anymore.
Yeah, I should have a whole slide on mulch really, because mulch is a vital component of organic ag.
But
In
not hay,
nature-
straw,
Yeah,
dry
it's gonna have a
straw.
lot of seeds in
Dry
it.
straw.
Yes, Julie.
Do you have like a source for straw? Because I was trying to learn about that and I learned that a lot of it has pesticides and that might.
Unfortunately, and I don't care what they tell you, there's not gonna be 100% reliable non-pesticide straw, because they're literally getting it from wherever it comes. Scott County, here, and
It's
I know.
wheat straw, so it's gonna be from the wheat crop.
So whatever those farmers happen to have put on there is what's gonna be on the straw.
Is there a way that we could, like, as a community, start making straw? Like, how is straw even formed, and can we make it from our own crops and like start collecting it? Is that possible? It's okay, so that's kind of a
the
random
most straw that you buy
question.
in the store is a byproduct of the wheat.
And
Wheat.
unfortunately,
So-
we're going in the wrong direction. The small farms are getting less and less, they're all being replaced, and those small farms are who was giving us our straw to begin with.
Yeah.
Other questions, y'all be all right. So how about straw to put out on my porch, on my steps for fall?
Right.
Right, okay, the little
Oh, yeah.
bundles from,
Yeah.
from the.
And you're gonna save that now for spring.
So I got a question. So that's it. When you've been to the house, you see it, it started growing grass.
Mhm.
And I was like, I thought this was fake. But it's mushroom, like big black mushrooms on it
Oh.
and everything. And so I have some patches from the rain and turning myself into mud. So I was going to take some of that and lay it where the mud is. Instead, I can put that on my garden.
You can put that on the garden bed.
Yeah,
Even
it'll
with
be
the
good on
green
your
pop-
mom.
4 inches.
Cause it's
Orange.
it's a thing that's like this,
Right,
but now it's.
when you cut those ropes and spread it, you're gonna find that they're actually about this much combined together, and they just tie it off. But just peel a section of that off, 4 inches, and put it right on your garden bed.
Even though it's growing grass out of, I did
Well,
not know.
honestly,
it's like
it's
literally-
it's kind of better that happen. I wanted to say that straw is not completely seed free.
Free,
But it is like so straw is from wheat, right? Hay is from a pasture. So hay is going to be clover, alfalfa, like anything. It's going to have weed seeds in it. So you're going to get a lot of different seeds that you don't know which and what for they are. The wheat straw is going to have some wheat seeds in it, but it's not going to have as many as the hay. And one way you can get around that is you can pre-germinate your straw bale like you have just done. You let it get a little wet. So a guy I know used to take his straw bales and he would hose them down and wait about a week until the wheat seeds germinated, and then he put the straw down and didn't have any problems with weeds.
Smart.
It's
with
been
the
shutting
weeds.
on snow and everything.
Do you have that problem?
I put it in trash.
Oh yeah.
It scared the mess out of me. It was growing and it had all the stuff. I'm like,
What is that? It's grass. It's so green. I mean, like
It was
it's
white.
like
It was-
vibrant.
Yeah, well that's wheat, you
I
know.
wish I'd known. I'd have kept it, but
Yeah. Well, now you
I'm
know.
gone now.
There's
Now I
next
know.
year. Yeah. Yeah.
nah,
There's always more, right? So mulch, well, nature never leaves the soil bare, right? If you see a bare patch of ground, it's usually because there's been some kind of construction, there's been some kind of disturbance, and for too long you're gonna get weeds growing in there if they don't put mulch or soil bare. If it's bare, something's gonna come in and grow. So you might as well get around that and put mulch on there to give it a nice little blanket and shade out the weeds that are gonna come up. And it adds fertility to the soil as well. Okay, so we talked about insectaries. Here's an example of it being in a mass scale. If you can see this picture, they've planted a whole row of beneficial wildflowers next to it looks like they're doing vegetables there. This person is just a home garden, so they planted a little corner, like a little pocket, you know? and that can help too. What this does is it does two things. It attracts the predatory insects, so there's lots of different ones, I can't name all of them, you know, but different wildflowers. See this yellow one? That's going to be a fennel or a dill, kind of hard to tell from here. That's going to attract like a predatory fly or a predatory wasp. These other ones will bring like those soldier bugs that we saw in the last one. Beetles do like these flowers. They tend to like the more low growing flowers, and the ones that are bigger, like bowl shaped, they can get into more easily. But if you have a wide variety of flowers, you're going to have a wide variety of things for a wide variety of predatory insects. So it's just more diversity, more variety, and also that's not only going to create lots of food for the different ones to eat, but they'll bloom at different times, right? So you'll have a long season of wildflowers that it's going to attract bugs all year round, rather than just for one short minute if you only plant one. So that sort of finishes up what I was talking about with organic techniques, and we're going to get into the garden design part. How much time do we have? Are we supposed to be done?
Yeah, maybe we could. No, it's okay. You know, we had a good conversation. Yeah,
Are we
absolutely.
even good on time? Does anyone need to like?
We need to
I thought it was till
be.
8, so.
Okay.
We need to be out of here by 8. So maybe could we hold questions till the end, maybe for this section?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
we don't have too much. I was kind of rushing this up part too. So, so when it comes to garden design, I wanted to have us think about two things: designing in space, so how you arrange things in a space, of course, and then designing through time. So how is that? How are you going to occupy different time periods as your plants grow? I always think of gardening as painting in 4D. Another person said, not a smarter person than me, said gardening is the slowest performance art. So think about when you plant a seed, you're not just putting a seed, you're putting a future plant. And you're not only putting a future plant, you're putting a future compost. So 4 seasons, there's so many opportunities to fill the gaps and to create a vibrant garden all year round. This is what a diagram showing crop rotation on an organic farm. So these people, because another thing that you want to think about with garden design is, and with pests, this relates to the pest conversation. There's some soil diseases that can affect plants that live in the soil, but they only affect one family of plants, right? So it's very wise to, for example, there's a nematode, which is a tiny little worm, and there's like 900 different species of nematodes, and most of them are good, some of them are bad. But you don't want to grow the same crop in the same place every single year, because you could risk establishing a population of bad insects. And those insects don't attack every plant family, they only attack one plant family. They have a relationship to that. So if you don't plant the same thing, you're going to interrupt the life cycle of any potential bad guys. So you want to move your crops around so that you have vibrant soil, and also, you know, different crops have different nutrient requirements too. So one crop could be taking up a lot of nitrogen, like a leaf crop. Another plant could be taking up a lot of phosphorus, like a fruiting crop, like a tomato. So if you rotate those around, then you'll have a balanced soil profile. So here's an example of using different layers. This is not a vegetable garden, this is a forest garden example. So this is using perennial trees and shrubs. And they have some vegetables down here as well. But this is just sort of having us think about the different layers of space that are in a landscape. You know, you have your canopy, the largest ones. You have your low fruit tree layer. You have your shrubs. Then you have your herbaceous plants. Then you have your root plants, and then you even have, then they have the soil surface, the ground cover that's growing in between. And then you have your vining layer that can go up. So this is an example of using vertical space to the maximum efficiency. A really good way to start too is by looking at your garden, your yard, your property, and going out there during and napping the sun, right? I mean, we've just passed the equinox, right? So, which was what, March 19th, I think it was. And so the equinox is a great time to go out to your yard and see where the sun is hitting. And then you can go out again on the summer solstice and see where the sun is hitting. And then again on the winter solstice and see, where is the sun hitting throughout the different times of the year, and what could I plant here to use that sun very well. A main thing with designing your garden is thinking that when it comes to our garden beds, so putting aside the conversation about trees, that's another class, but when it comes to our garden bed, there's two main types of, we're going to be growing mostly herbaceous plants. So herbaceous plants are plants that do not have wood. They don't have trunks and woody stems. They're just green, right? And there's two main categories of herbaceous plants. There's perennials and annuals. Y'all know the difference, right? Most people, does anyone not know?
I don't know.
Cool, good. Well, perennials are ones that come back year after year.
Okay.
So it's gonna die, most of these are gonna die down to the ground during the winter, and then in the springtime they're gonna send up new shoots and grow back from the root. So the root just stays in there, happy as a clam, until it's time to grow again. So a lot of our herbs, most of the herbs that we grow are perennials. So a lot these are the common ones. And because they are perennials, when you're establishing a new perennial bed, you want to be careful about getting all those weeds out, because you're not gonna be disturbing the soil again. You're just gonna be having that be your perennials. You're not gonna be tilling it again. And the perennial vegetables, there's not too many of them, but I have these listed. So you wouldn't want to be putting your perennials in the same bed as your annuals, because you're going to have a different management strategy with that. You're going to be disturbing the soil a lot less with the perennials. And so if you plant perennials and annuals together, it's just going to be really hard for you to manage it. And it's just easier to put the annuals together, which are these guys. So our annual herbs are going to be your cilantro, basil, calendula, dill, marigolds. That's the common ones. There's some that I missed. And then most of our vegetables that we grow are annuals. And there's two categories of annual vegetables. There's cool season and warm season. So this is an example of gardening in time, designing in time, right? So a lot of times you can even put the warm season in the same bed as the cool season. If you get started early enough, your lettuce and your collards or your radishes are kind of finishing by the time it's time to plant your tomatoes. These guys don't like the heat, especially lettuce and spinach, for example. As soon as it gets hot, they do what we call bolting. You probably know what that is. And bolting is when it sends out a seed, and the leaves get kind of elongated, and they get bitter, they get tough. They're not good to eat anymore.
Oh, that happened to me.
Yeah.
So
That's just its life cycle.
they get stuck, you said.
Yeah. When these guys bolt, they're just not good eating,
Once we hit 90, tomatoes won't flower anymore. They're not getting any more fruit. And we're hitting 90 every year. So
Yeah.
that's it. What you've got is where you're going to be.
And that's it, okay.
Yeah. So it's a good idea to be sort of stacking these on top of each other. Then you use all of your space very efficiently. You're not leaving anyone just lacking. Especially if you have a very small garden, you can use the entire season this way by doing a rotation of cool and warm. This is an example of those marigolds. It's a very common, very popular organic technique where you plant marigolds inside your tomatoes, and they have done numerous studies on this and shown that the marigolds reduce the pests in those tomatoes by quite a lot.
You can't eat marigold.
No. Well, you
Chickens do.
can a little.
Okay.
Yeah. You can make a tea. Yes.
What about basil?
Basil.
Tomatoes, they grow.
They do well
Make
together
it
too.
taste better.
Yeah.
Under the tea.
I don't know all the science behind that, but I've heard many testimony that if you grow basil inside your tomatoes, it's just that think about the height difference. Like these people have left a whole row for those marigolds. So I did one before where I planted the basil and the marigolds kind of inside the tomato, and the tomatoes grew way taller, and so they kind of shaded out the basil and the marigold. They didn't grow very well. So it might be wise to do a row like this, or to put the basil and the marigolds on the end so that they're getting that sun and not getting totally eclipsed underneath.
Can't you also think about root systems? Like some roots are going to be deeper and bigger, whereas you could plant like strawberries that are gonna have like, or actually I don't know how deep strawberries roots are, but like you know what I mean, like you could,
Shallow,
yeah, like you know what I mean, like you could also like think about how much
Yeah.
root space the complementary plants are gonna take up.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful with strawberries. Strawberries will outcompete weeds. I mean, you can start with 3 strawberry plants and come back 2 years later and you'll have a backyard. I mean, they will
Doesn't sound
outcompete
like
weeds.
the worst
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
Wow.
Right, I was about to say I don't know if
I
I'm.
mean,
Am I complaining about that? I don't know.
But most people get disappointed because strawberries, you get these wonderful plants that outcompete weeds. They just, you know, they go everywhere, but they're green all year, and then you
Yeah.
get like 10 days, maybe 2 weeks of strawberries,
Yeah.
and then you're back to
That's it.
green
Yeah.
for nothing for the whole year again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an up and down on that.
You kind of want to balance them with other harvests.
Yes.
Don't put all your strawberries in one basket. So, yeah. And then here's more information on companion planting. Yeah, like occupying different parts of the soil, different parts of the sun profile that's hitting that bed. And you're also getting that insectary effect. This is a very, very famous and traditional companion planting called Three Sisters. I'm sure you've heard of it. But this is what indigenous people in this region have grown for many, many years and developed this technology. It's squash that provides the ground cover and occupies the ground area. Then you have a corn stalk in the middle, and then you after you plant the corn, you wait a little while until it gets a little taller, like maybe wait a couple weeks until it's yay high, and then you plant the beans so that the corn gets a head start and it doesn't get dwarfed by the beans or overgrown. But the beans can grow up that corn stalk, and they don't hurt it. They're using the part of the corn that's not being used.
Right.
And then after you harvest your sweet corn, then you have a whole stalk that those beans can grow up on. So this is a great, amazing example of indigenous wisdom and traditions that have carried on today that are just incredibly wise.
We have a question. Plant. When can you plant the 3 seasons?
These guys are all warm seasons. So our average last frost date in Tennessee in zone 7.
Are lies. Okay, and that says requires 6 hours. That means for the plant barely to survive, it will require. If you actually want to get tomatoes off of it, it starts at 8 hours. Tomatoes are solar-powered sugar factories. So if you can give it 16 hours of light, it'll love you for it.
Right.
You give it 6, it's going to barely hang on. So light's going to be your number 1 consideration, then followed by your ability to get water to it. None of us are getting any younger. It's hard. I used to have to carry water quite a ways out to my garden. I can't do that anymore now. But light's number 1, and your ability to get water to it's number 2. So if you can find the sunniest place that you can, especially for summer vegetables, the ones we all like to brag about are summer vegetables, they require the most light. So put it where it's going to get the most light, including a flower pot. You can grow tomatoes and peppers, and they grow great in flower pots. Stick a flower pot in the sun. That's the most important thing. Making sure that it actually gets the sun that it's going to need.
Thank
8
you.
to 16.
Yeah.
Sun.
And another thing to consider is using vertical space. This can greatly increase your potential to grow. This is what's called a cattle panel that you can get at Home Depot, and they've just bent it on either side of their raised bed. They've like stapled it into 2 different raised beds on either side to create this trellis, and they have it looks like a pumpkin growing up of it. But you can grow beans, you can grow peas, you can grow
I
Yeah,
only
cucumbers.
use cattle panels. Now, it looks like that, that concrete, that rolls of wire they put down before it looks like that,
yeah.
except cattle panels are galvanized. They're never gonna rust. They're always gonna look nice for you, and they're heavier gauge. You're not gonna get all cruddy when you touch them. And you buy them once and they're forever.
Yeah.
So cattle.
Cattle panels, they're called cattle panels.
And which one is it? The third one, the second one?
The first one is this one is also
You
a
can bend it
cattle
over, form the
panel.
arch, or leave it straight up like that, but it's forever.
Gotcha.
You can put it up and it'll never look any worse. That's how it's gonna look forever.
I will say bending it is a 3-person task.
Yeah, it supports
done-
a lot of weight.
Almost really hurt myself doing that one.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself.
They're really, really durable, so like they're heavy.
And then I'm about done, but I wanted to mention this. This is a concept of zoning. This is like more of a homestead situation. But this is just something to think about when you're designing. So zone 0 is like your home, right? Zone 1 would be the things that you have to visit all the time. So if you have like chickens, for example, they need to be checked every single day, twice a day. So you're gonna put things there that you need to go to. Zone 2 are the things you need to frequent less often, like your fruit trees or your pond or whatever. These people must be living a life.
Right.
And then all the way down to zone 5, which is more of like a wild area that you don't need to visit ever. Or, well, you don't need to, but you must to replenish your spirit and soul. But at any rate, I mean, it doesn't need your help. I don't know what I'm saying, but this is just something to consider. I think this can be applied to us who live in the city too, because you want to design your bed in a way that if you really love to cook with rosemary or thyme like I do, like I put those right next to my door so that when I'm in the middle of cooking, I'm not trying to go out to the yard. I'm trying to grab something right from my doorstep and take it back inside. So just something to consider. It's something that needs more harvesting, like herbs, or like lettuce needs more harvesting than a tomato, because a lettuce is something that you can cut and then come back to, right? It also goes like the time window that you harvest lettuce is much more narrow than the time window that you harvest like a pumpkin, because if you have a pumpkin, it's sort of like one and done. It's ready and then you harvest it and it's done. A lettuce is something that you can come back to and harvest over and over again. So you might want to consider putting that closer to the house. So that's just something to think about when you're designing, like, what do I want this garden for? What is my goal here? What am I trying to grow? Is my goal to produce a harvest, or is my goal to have a peaceful place to observe the local wildlife? Do I want color, or am I trying to reach a goal for like food production? Just some questions to ask when you make your garden this year. I'm sure you guys have already started, but now or into the future, these principles can help set it up better.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure,
by
yeah.
the way.
True beginner, I'm like so overwhelmed right now.
Well,
I was gonna say,
we're
like,
here for you.
First of all, thank you so much, Karen. You've done an amazing job teaching, amazing, truly. And I also, this is not me cutting you off. Please finish whatever you need to. But I wanted to say, I was thinking, some of y'all might feel overwhelmed right now, because this was as well as you made it like for beginners. It is a lot of information.
Yeah.
So honestly, what I want to say is that a lot of gardening is just kind of throwing things around and seeing what happens and trial and error, and everyone fails. Karen, we were just talking about this the other day, right? Like, how many plants have we all killed in our life?
Right. You don't
like I got
thousands
into
and
this
thousands.
because I was experimenting. And then I thought that it was fun.
Yeah.
And then I wanted other people to join me. So I found them. And then y'all asked, could y'all do it? And so we're here.
Yeah.
So it's not a professional by the book thing, right? Our ancestors and the people before us didn't have the books. They didn't have they had their own technology and technique. So just find out what works for you. Take what we say with a grain of salt and be your own expert.
So Karen,
I know my dad could stick his finger in the ground and it would grow. And it's just the way we do it. It would be hard.
Yeah.
But me, nah.
You'll get it.
I believe it.
yeah, are you on Instagram?
Yeah. I need to start sharing more garden stuff, but you can look it up. I'm
You
actually
need your own YouTube.
I this video garden on Instagram.
Yes.
The compost talk.
Oh, we're gonna
Okay,
have a look.
so
That would be good.
right now, I feel bad because it's been sitting in the sun and they're not telling what's in that bag. But I got a bag full of vegetables and stuff.
You've got fertilizer.
Yes, and I got coffee, and all of that stuff is just sitting right there. But all the vegetables are just in the bag, and it's just tied up, and it's just like the sun is just.
It's like a time bomb.
So I'm scared to even open it, just because or something is in it.
It sounds
So-
like you have a lot of nitrogen in that bag. You know,
Well, I
you've
hope
got-
so.
You've got those vegetables, you've got coffee grounds. What
Yeah.
you need is carbon to add to it.
Okay, and what?
You know, were you here when he was talking about greens and browns? No. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
That's what I said. I missed it.
do you
Yeah.
get stuff from Amazon?
Yeah.
You get that brown paper in those
I'm a
boxes?
female. I love Amazon.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, if you get that brown paper in there, you can either cut it up, shred it up, or what I like to do, just throw it on the lawn, take the lawnmower to it, and it all goes into the bag, and now it's mixed perfectly for me.
What if I got wood chips?
Wood chips will work also, but they're gonna break down a lot slower.
Okay.
Do you
'cause
have
I
any?
was
Do you have any?
I got a ton of wood chips.
Shredder works fine.
Shredder.
Just, you want to avoid shiny paper.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
wanna
just
avoid all shiny
Like
paper.
plain brown paper is very
Any
high.
Plain brown
advertisements,
paper?
anything
Yeah.
like
Like a
that
brown
shiny,
paper bag?
throw it in the
Yeah,
trash.
brown paper bag,
Oh.
Amazon packaging paper.
Okay,
That's
because
real
my
high
job
in
got brown paper
carbon.
bags. I'm ready to say I'm gonna go grab me a whole box.
We get a lot of brown paper here when books get shipped to
Okay.
the store, so if you.
It's all perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect
Brown
right
paper.
there.
Well, you know what to do, Anna.
Yeah, just.
Thanks,
yeah,
Anna.
I'm in for a surprise when
And I'll
y'all
keep
get
it
to
from
my
behind
house.
the.
Right, we'll brave it together.
I'm trying to tell you, when y'all get over there and y'all see that, y'all gonna be like, girl.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a little smelly at first because you
I'm
have
scared.
you have an anaerobic, you have not a lot of oxygen in there, so you're gonna get those anaerobic bacteria who don't smell so good. But if
Right.
you get it out and you combine it with carbon right away and you expose it to the oxygen, eventually those anaerobic bacteria will die and the aerobic bacteria, the oxygen bacteria, will come in and they will digest it into compost for you.
Okay, so what was that container about the compost?
Where was it?
It was that.
This one? No, I should have
Well,
explained
this is where I was.
This
Yeah,
is an
I mean,
example of
that's
a
what I'm working on.
lasagna garden. So this is
Okay.
this is a way Meek knows all about this, and this is sort of what when Rooted East puts in their beds, they do sort of a simplified version of this, where they add. This person has added branches at the bottom, then rough mulch like a wood chip. It's
Okay.
more of like a rough like woody mulch. Then they've added grass clippings, which is real high in nitrogen. Then they've added newspapers, cardboard, which is high in carbon. Then they've added compost, which is mostly nitrogen, but a little of both. It's more balanced. And they've added straw mulch. So this is sort of like all these different sources of soil fertility. Some of them more high in nitrogen, some of them higher in carbon. And this is basically mimicking like a forest floor. You know, like in the forest, you have things dropping naturally from the cycles of the leaves growing. And then you also have like herbaceous layer of things growing under the trees, and you also have like animals coming and like pooping and stuff, and
So did I do
sometimes
mine
dying.
backwards?
What?
Did I do? Well, I got one at home, and I got like a whole big something started, and I put cardboard and wood chips, and that's it.
That's
Like
your
on
base
the bed?
layer.
The base. Yeah. Oh, I thought that was it. Yeah. No, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I got some little weeds coming in, but I ain't touched it. I keep on watering it,
You
and it's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I need to
That
put
you're in
anything
good
else
shape.
on top of that?
You
I
could
mean,
add
that's where I
some
want to
compost
be.
on top.
Compost on top.
And then you could add some mulch on top of your compost to create that layer of like protecting the soil. The straw mulch is gonna be, I would recommend to do more of a like a soft mulch instead of wood chips on your vegetable bed, just because wood chips are going to take a long time to degrade. If it's a
Years.
soft mulch like straw or like leaves, you know, like if you have a
Can you
leaf
shred
pile,
up leaves?
leaves are a great source of mulch. Yeah.
So don't throw them out and don't put them to the side of the street and have
Yeah, don't
people
throw them out.
save
Another thing about leaves,
Leave
leaves
the
are
leaves.
unique also.
Eat the leaves.
Leaves are the only thing that we have that you can just pile up and
Right.
leave them, and they will form what's called leaf mold.
Yeah.
All by itself,
Mold.
which is wonderful stuff.
Okay.
But it's also very good to mix it with any of the greens, you know, in the fall, and there's your compost.
Okay, let me tell you about piling up leaves. If you're skittish about snakes,
Oh.
they love it. But they're harmless snakes.
Right.
But if you don't like snakes,
I just came across one. I'm about passed out. I was moving and rocking at the face.
I still-
I said, "Oh Jesus!"
Still,
She said, "It's just a garden snake. It'll be
Uh-oh.
okay." It was a small
Just.
braid. I was like, "Okay."
I
Do I really want to plant this stuff, or am I really experimenting?
Remember in your,
I think I'm serious
for
enough.
those that
Two
are
times.
home gardening members, remember about your master gardener folder.
Yeah.
So it has like this like diagram for you to like do your design. That way, you know, after we leave your home and you're interested in like another bed, you're able to do that. And then, you know, you have all your guides in here. You got your glossary of terms, and then you got this nice little packet with the seasonal calendar as well. So just, you know, we're trying to make this as easy and digestible for you all as possible. We understand it is very overwhelming.
And it looks just like a stable, except it's all cement, and on the bottom it has grates where they force air in from the bottom.
Wow.
And they get the compost up to 160 degrees for 2 weeks.
Ooh.
So it is fully composted down.
And they do it
And,
fast too.
and the only issue with it is, since it is so composted down, you're gonna need to add some nitrogen to it, just to get it started. Like coffee grounds, whatever you might wanna add after that. And they don't charge, they take donations.
Okay.
Okay, so I normally get an entire yard of concrete. In other words, the back of the pickup filled to the top with compost, and I give them like $20 for that.
Yeah.
That is dirt cheap
That
compared to
is.
what if you go to Lowe's, or you're gonna get a few bags versus an entire truck filled with it.
Load the trucks up, call the truck seal.
So Star Stables is where we get 100% of our compost from. They're reliable. You gotta call them ahead of time because a lot of these commercial landscapers will call up and
Right.
buy everything they have.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why
but,
they
add
started
coffee
taking
grounds to
donations. Yeah.
but it's all done on
You
donations.
know, those guys are out in Lenore City, but you know, a local in East Knox, there's L&M Landscaping right on Hill
Yeah.
Road, is it?
That's
Yeah.
where we get it for the home garden program.
They have some pretty good. They have their mushroom compost and topsoil.
yeah.
But that's, we gotta buy that.
You gotta buy
Yeah,
that.
we
Yeah,
can't make stuff.
And
pretty good.
You need to check with that brewery about rice hulls.
What'd you-
Ebony and Ivory.
The
Oh.
brewery,
People
if
say
they
rice.
use rice in the brewing process, if you can get rice hulls, you have no idea
I have to remember
what you
that.
can
Yeah,
do with
that's
that.
great.
Rice
Yeah.
What's that?
Rice hole.
Rice hulls, the waste product.
Like holes.
You want the waste product from that.
Holes.
Okay.
Y'all, there is so much wasted opportunity with gathering these waste products from businesses. You know, I'm talking coffee, stuff from like not only rice hulls, but like used brewery mash. You know,
Right.
there's so much organic matter that's just produced from our society that it's trash. Yes, Miss Tiffany.
Okay, so. Oh, she knows my guys are gonna ask me a question.
Oh, no,
For right now, thank you. For right now, so it just came in. We turned and added all kinds of stuff into my garden bed, and a lot of worm poop, which I think is really neat, and. So it's just sitting. I haven't planted anything yet, but I'm itching. So I can go and get these coffee grounds from my Starbucks friends, put that over there, cut the end off of this straw. Okay, that's not right. Straw. Sprinkle that.
You're not sprinkling it, you want
Stick it
4
in.
inches of it.
Okay, I'm
Laying it
sticking
on
that
thick.
in there.
So when you cut that bale, there's
And then
gonna
make
be
4
2 twines on it.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna cut it, and then you're literally gonna be able to peel off a 4-inch labor. And because I think they're in there in like
Yeah,
4
they're
inches.
like that. Uh-huh.
Just peel it off and put it in your bed, like a checkerboard.
Not straight up.
Just flat down your bed.
And then plant my
And
stuff in
then
between.
plant in there. Make a hole or put your plant in and put that around it,
Okay,
right up to the stem.
okay.
If you've already got a planting right up to the stem, and you won't have weeds getting in there, and the spiders will come.
Okay, and even if I'm just doing seed straight in the ground.
No. If you're direct seeding, you have to wait for the things to come up first and then put around that. That's a little harder to do.
Because that's what I didn't, because I didn't know what I was doing, so I just, it was like, here. And I was like, here's a little seed, here's a little seed. And it grew. I mean, my greens came up beautifully.
Greens are great for that. But things like tomatoes or your peppers, I would start them separately.
Yeah, those go in my little bucket.
And exactly, but
Okay.
boom, put that thing in and put everything tight. You don't want to let any sun get in there,
Okay,
and the spiders will come and the weeds won't.
okay. Spiders.
And just remind yourself,
Those are your
the
friends.
spiders are friends, the snakes are friends.
Yeah, those are your friends.
Any wasp you see flying around is eating the bugs that you don't want. You want wasps.
Friends.
I have lots of wood carpenter bees. The great big I have those everywhere in my
Well, those are not our friends.
They're everywhere in my yard. So what
Are they bumblebees or carpenter bees?
No, they're
Are they getting in your house?
No.
They
They might just be bumblebees.
No, well there might be bumblebees. They're the big fat ones.
Yeah.
No, those are carpenter bees. When
Yeah,
they put the
carpenter
perfect
bees,
half-inch
it's that
circle in
season
the
for
wood,
Well,
they
she
lay.
could be, yeah, but she could
I
be
don't have
starting
any wood. Well, the
bumblebees.
only place I have wood is my steps, and there's no holes. They're not drilling in that. But I got these other.
They do it underneath. There's sneaky stuff. You
I
gotta
have
look
great
underneath.
big flying. Are they wasps? They're orangish looking.
Could be.
I don't do
There's a
bees.
lot of
I'm
different types of
allergic.
wasps.
How you
Yeah.
doing?
How do you get rid of them?
All of those are in my front yard.
Carpenter bees are notorious. You do not want to go and buy a trap. Okay, the traps are a trap for you because what ends up happening is they will attract 150 times the number that you will actually catch in that trap. So what you want to do is you want to get and they sell them, or you can make your own. It's a very simple wood. It's a wood like looks like a birdhouse almost with a glass jar on the bottom. The mistake people make is they empty the glass jar. Never empty the glass jar because it attracts more of them in, and then only when that jar is completely filled, dump some out and put it back up there again, and they'll just keep going in.
Just make like a wood house with a jar to catch them.
If you go on the internet and do it's super simple. And you'll see the ads on YouTube, and you can I can make that at home.
Because the
With a few
carpenter
pieces of wood in a jar.
Thank you.
The carpenter bees have a black booty, and the bumblebees have a yellow.
Fat.
Well, these are the ones in my house.
Bumblebees.
The bumblebees.
They like
Oh,
the
yeah, those
Yeah,
guys
those
are
all-
good.
Yeah,
They
those
don't-
are-
they
they're
don't
good.
even
No, bumblebees are good. Carpenter
Okay.
And
bees
they're
are bad.
pollinators. Yeah, don't worry
Okay.
about them. They're just
They
carrying
come up
on.
and get near me all the time, and I'm like, hey. I don't
No,
swear.
we do need to be getting going.
Oh,
yes,
Because
so-
it is 10 till 8.
Sorry.
I have a
Sorry to
few.
cut that short. There's a lot of passion in this room. I love it.
I have a few quick
Carpenter bees
things.
that's bad, aside from them like eating things.
Well, just destruction. They also don't care about cedar. They will shred your cedar furniture. Cedar that's supposed to be bug repellent.
Whoever was not registered on Eventbrite, please come see me before you leave. I just want to make sure that we get everybody registered. Before we leave and start packing up, I just wanted to make sure that we knew that the cards that we have on the tables, if you don't have our contact information, please do pick one of those up. They're sitting over there. I will say that number is not active. Please use the email. We should be marking those out, but we don't have time to go through each card individually. So, please just disregard the number, the phone number. Just use the email. I really quickly, before we wanted to leave, I wanted to say, while we're all sitting here, what classes are you all interested in having other than a composting class? Anybody have any, based off of this presentation?
More garden design
More garden design? Okay.
with the spatial thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry it was a little rushed at the end there, but we could
We'll
do
go
a
back
whole
into
class
it.
on it.
Yeah. The original plan was to have these separate, but it is what it is. Thank you for both of y'all. Thank you for accommodating today and making it work.
Thank you so much for having us.
Outside the cookie,
Yeah, because I was making.
I already know. It was outside the cookie.
And what about the plant, like trees, fruiting trees? I
Oh,
know people are
yes.
saying those are not.
Fruit trees.
Right, it looks just like a birdhouse with a jar.
Yeah, wonderful. Anybody else have any other
There's nowhere to
questions?
go.
Like starting with seeds.
Yeah, seed starting. We'll be having that in May.
Ah, good.
She
May.
started
Or it might be
May
April.
9th.
Yeah, May 9th.
May 9th.
And we have someone who's already set up to teach that. So, Miss Marion, were you about to say something?
Oh, seed starting.
Oh, okay, same thing. Okay, so if that's it, please, if you think of anything before you head out, please come and let me know. I'm going to write all these down, make sure we get everybody's, requested classes in. And yeah, please make sure that you get, I can help you get registered on the Eventbrite if you haven't done so already. That really helps us. So thank you both so very much. We appreciate the last minute ask.
You guys have some really great questions, so you're definitely give yourself more credit. How do I say this? You got more credit than you know more than you give yourself credit for.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Yes.
So keep on exploring and keep on trying new things.
And Karen, if you started a YouTube channel,
I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do, Karen. I think this might be your new job opportunity calling to you.
I'm too nervous for this, you know.
No, you did great. Literally,
did.
so wonderful. All right, y'all, let's get packing. Thank you to the bottom for having us. We appreciate it so very much.